Hi guys, welcome back. So we're gonna continue where we left off. Happy New Year, by the way. Juices, man, we survived COVID, we're still surviving, so we hope we're gonna survive more. So let's go back to where we left off, right? If you guys haven't subscribed, check out the channel, subscribe, like, what are you waiting for? When Maneko who saw Tinashe reading books and wondered if one day that would be him, such an admirable hobby he used to despise when it was no longer a hobby but a necessity. The demon of disobedience had played such a negative role in his life that all he wanted to do was to retire from it. Tinashe inquired about his origins, but knowing that their story might be similar, he gave him time to consider his responses. When that occurs, there is an opportunity for growth. Maneko responded with a lower pitch as if in regret. So it was the past that had held him back all these years, that he had caused more problems and not just seeing it happen. When humans have come to terms with their past and have decided that it will not play a role in the present, there is no shame in doing the right thing. And when mankind reached that level of understanding, they want to change the world. How can it all happen at once when individuals are attempting to change what is already in place? Looking back on the past is always difficult for Maneko because he did not deal with it earlier on. No matter how much it has affected him, there was no greater challenges than the bitter problems he had already faced. When much effort had been expended, the time allocated should be limited to the wise, or the time in life allocated to our duties is limited in life. His father had poor relatives. He was not like them because he was educated and could afford a good job. When his company retrenched, he was the first in line in his department because friends are few when you need them the most. Tinashe like you was raised with nothing in my hands, and I can't offer much, but I am fairly certain there comes a time when people look back and wonder if they lived at all, and the question is bitter. His relationship with Makantini was also a rose. When humans living in a gutter become trapped in it, they form a poverty alliance in which a weak mind teaches another weak mind on how to be more weak. Yep, two poor people cannot help each other. Young, what is the cost of losing a life for a lost cause when there appears to be no stable reality in which men are not ready to tear each other apart? Look at how the world's guns have demons of death inside them, killing one another like it's nothing. We are officially treating other human beings as flies. There was another world to foresee once Maneko had completed Open Up, and there was nowhere to hide in the disastrous life. They all said their goodbyes while the night was still young, but they went on to change the idea that was the root of all these false beliefs about life. When given the opportunity, there is an immediate desire to find a way that is adventurous to oneself. When people learn to educate one another, they will not be discouraged even in the darkest of times. Like Tupac always say, after the darkest night always comes a brighter day. Some will call and tell me that they wish me well, but in my heart, knowing that they wish me hell. When men and women are looking for a way forward, they must participate in it the right way. The conversation did not go as planned because the poor expected to be given money, which is one of the most powerful negative mentalities in this world, whereby the poor feels like the rich owes them. Well, there's a lot of things that are unexplained in that scenario, but because of capitalism, it might start explaining some of these things. There's no such thing as I worked hard for this or my family worked hard for this for hundreds of years. It's just exploitation. Shut the F up. Only a few individuals would recognize the need to change the status quo. When people have successfully portrayed exactly what they want, when the time has come or has much arrived, their focus was much like a shared vision. Our occupations are unimportant, only the need for change is. And when that focus has been established, the opportunity provided is not much there to the extent that it is required. When humans have a better understanding of why love is not only found in bedrooms but also elsewhere in the world where it is scarce and the need for it is greater. People in higher positions will be in a better position than they are now because of the purpose of learning or of learning how to apply what they learn and never to repeat those mistakes again. So like Einstein said, like, the biggest stupid thing that you can do is to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again, expecting a different result. I think like we are living in this world whereby we keep repeating the same mistakes. But if that is difficult to learn, mankind will easily get themselves into unnecessary problems. Yeah. It's around 11 midnight 2300 on this day. During this time, they were all hoping to change other people's lives. The detective had told Enoch that they would expect they were expecting to meet some troublemakers. Most rooms in these abandoned buildings had no doors, or no, actually they were not buildings, they were just there for non-profit organizations that were under them to benefit over them. The residents were mostly women and children. Changing the world requires understanding why we do what we do, and when the reason does not positively charge our blood cells. And when that reason does not positively charge our blood cells, we must be ready to change what is there. If given the opportunity, one would betray a close friend and everything could be torn down because of jealousy. This building was filled with so much hatred that even growth was not presumptuous towards what actually needed to be changed. There is a lot of emphasis on changing the world, but often we overlook the importance of changing smaller things. When individuals realize that it is conceivable to start changing smaller things in their lives, that means there should be a solution, and the solution is not fortunate. It is something to consider. These two cops had dedicated half of their lives to the force, and that meant they had developed sufficient skills to live by. They have survived to this age of theirs. So simply means most cops that come in the game early and fresh, and all they want to do is to solve these problems, political problems, they are dead now, or they are killed, of course, because we live in a corrupt world whereby the ones that are in power are the ones that are oppressing the ones at the bottom. Actually, before the King James Bible was edited, there's actually a verse that says, remember that verse that says, we are fighting with flesh, we are not fighting with flesh, we are fighting with principalities. And the original Bible actually said it was flesh, like higher principles, like people who are human beings who are in higher positions are using those positions to communicate with the fourth dimension, but not in a good way, but in a bad way, which is meant they are sourcing their power out of from a dark spiritual world. It was in the Bible before King James removed it. When mortals have already made a decision, okay, everyone must make a firm decision that will help them reclaim what is important to them. When people have already made a decision that they like, they will always find a way to defend what is dear to them. For a change, that could be something new. Minds thrive to change when there is something new to change. These detectives did not stop themselves from causing harm. They always try to persuade selected individuals to do things that they are frequently incapable of doing. It is crucial to involve individuals in changing the given crisis whenever there is a need to be present and understanding what is changing the world. It is not one man's world, but rather the world of everyone who lives in it. If there was any chance that detectives would not be walking around with guns in the streets, they have to have some sort of understanding and put a lot of pressure into cleaning the streets. Okay, if there was a reason of detectives not to walk around with guns, they would not walk around with guns, but they have to walk around with guns because there are certain individuals who are not supposed to be walking around with guns, but they got the Glock loaded. When power is limited to those who are working to make it well known to the public that they are eating off the poor, it leads to an imbalance of power. Like we said, these detectives had different perspective on the country's politics. They also concluded that they were pawns, not the weakest piece on the chessboard, but the most used piece on the chessboard, if you can put it that. Because remember, a pawn on the chessboard can also turn into queens. Like the queen is the most powerful, besides the king, is the most powerful piece on the chessboard. So if the pawn can become the queen and can take over, the knight can take over. So the pawn has to play their games in a smart way. Nonetheless, they came in large numbers, determined to play their part in all of this. They had to recognize the possibility of dominating those pawns by allowing themselves to collaborate. Enoch led them to the other side of the building, where young girls were being used for prostitution by men who had no basis for what they were doing. And most of these young girls were brought in by older ladies, and then they are pimped out by older ladies. At first, they were told that, come, we're doing modeling, and all of a sudden they were tricked into this, and most of them went missing after. Some humans prefer to be ideal when evil things are happening than to change, because they always say, oh, we cannot do it, it's been like this. Nah, it's not. You are letting it, you are allowing something bad to happen. So if you allow something bad to happen, you cannot really blame the world for the bad things that you allowed to happen. Duh. These young girls were not staying in this building, but they were used in and out per night, making money for the madman. It was no surprise when they walked in fully armed. When the detective walked in fully armed, the people there couldn't do much. They just remained silent. If they were not participating in this, they just wanted to be peaceful and to be left alone. And most of them hoped that this detective would only ask for money and leave the building, just like the previous detectives had done. More than 8 girls were being traded around the same time. Money was coming in every 2 hours, 3 hours, and after that, the pimps would go and meet the people who are actually who have actually brought these girls. These detectives knew how important it was to instill fear in these people. Only those who were fully prepared with the knowledge knew exactly what was going on. We frequently make mistakes as humans, and these mistakes can sometimes lead to unfortunate events that most individuals do not want to go through. But at the same time, if you learn your mistakes and then you learn how you made these mistakes the last time and how you made it, and then you can try to twist valleys and debts, I mean, you can find your way out. Given the opportunity to sell one another, humans have done so before, and for some it would not even be the first or the worst thing or the last. We have our own instincts. It is either right or wrong, and there is a reason to keep going and not to be distracted by the surrounding environment. When people reach that realization, their recklessness must fade, and there is a possibility as a result that these young girls were going to be led out of the building and into the cars of the cops so that they'll be protected. As they had been called in, the detective had surrounded the place, and they started making some mass arrests. All they had to do was to have someone to point, like, that person, stitches get stitches, people, stitches get stitches. So I believe that in the black community, in the African community, or in all the communities of people that look like me, we have these things, stitches, snitches get stitches. But I kind of think like we've taken it to the next level, where we are participating in corruption one way or the other. If you cannot really talk about it, or you cannot really complain, or you cannot really point that that person is corrupt, it simply means we are participating. We are passive in the decline of our own economies, of our own societies. Why? Because we are participating in it. Thank you, people. Meet you on the next one and see if we can continue from this one. Juices, stay safe, people.
Life matters. Business community needs to wake up in the morning. When you cut down trees, life matters. When you pollute the waters, life matters. When you pollute the air, life matters. Life matters, and that's not black lives only. That is life for the human continent, life for the birds, life for the fish of the sea, life for the ants, life for the crops, life for the human beings themselves. Whoever thinks that by having more money, you'll have enough, you'll never be satisfied.